Well, it's 2022 and I'm finally reviewing my 2017 Game of the Year, Horizon Zero Dawn. One of the most beautiful and mechanically impressive video games I've ever played, with one of the goofiest, uninspiring names you could ever imagine. I know it'll be explained later on in the game, but it still sounds like a name you'd only come up with after hours of doing PCP in a bingo hall. Sony should be thankful Horizon is now one of their premier franchises. Otherwise, many people would have treated it like a generic title they'd only buy during a summer game sale, only to forget they bought it months and years later. It really shouldn't count against Horizon Zero Dawn, but when it was initially released on the PS4, it ran at a measly 30 frames per second with no option for a performance mode. And I had to wait 4 years in order to play it at 60 FPS the way it was meant to be played on my PC and PS5. It doesn't matter how many film school rejects and failed movie makers try to debate. 60 FPS will always be the optimal way to play a video game, especially when it's an action-adventure title like this one. And Sony should really get out of the habit of releasing their first-party titles with a busted frame rate on PS4, and then conveniently supply us with an upgrade for PS5 years later, heavily implying players should double dip if they want the ideal experience. I would just invest in cryptocurrency and NFTs if I really wanted to waste my money like that.
Hi, Matriarch Tirsa. What is she doing here?
More importantly, how in the hell does she look exactly the same here as she does when Aloy grows up? Even Rost gets some frost in his hair when that time arrives, and that's in the span of at least 20 years. Ain't no high quality Olay cream gonna be laying around for you in this future.
Speak her name!
Aloy!
Disregarding my heavy attempt to avoid making a Lion King reference here, naming a child Aloy while living in a world dominated by machines is enough to elicit that kind of eye roll you usually only see when you and your homie are tag teaming Courtney from Starbucks when she's gone through half a year of not getting laid.
What did she tell you about his birth outcast? Answer!
I've done only what you asked.
To raise it, yes. We said nothing of love.
Nothing Rost ever does evokes an emotion such as love. He will clearly show that he is duty-bound by any means necessary. He even gets into an argument with Aloy later on, telling her she shouldn't be attached to him. What the hell are you even on about?
Children, come with me.
Even in video games, nobody gives a shit about gingers. Aloy is just a little girl at this point in time, so her tumble down into the ruins at this height should have at least fractured a few bones, regardless of her falling into this shallow water. Yet she walks it off with ease. Notice how they don't actually show Aloy dropping into the water. It's because even the game designers know that her speedy recovery is bullshit. The Focus is a high-tech device that allows the user to enter augmented reality, and serves as a crucial gameplay mechanic by letting you detect vital information about the machines, including their weaknesses, their patrol routes, animals in the wild, and important artifacts. The only problem is that it forces you to move slowly. Dude, I know it's called a focus, but I didn't think it would literally halt my movement speed and break the flow of gameplay.
A shape. It's connected to the door somehow.
How the hell does Aloy even know what a shape is? Knowledge of things like geometry don't exist in this world anymore. And a man like Rost, who is vehemently against things of the metal world, would not be teaching Aloy about anything other than survival.
What was that?
That boy! The one running the brave trails.
Follow Aloy, quick!
But didn't you tell her to ignore him because you two are outcasts?
Ignore him. We are outcasts and he is of the tribe.
If he's in trouble, that should be the Braves' problem to deal with.
It's only a matter of time before the machines find that boy and kick him to death. But if I shoot, it'll cause a stampede.
Teb is near the cliff wall. There is no way Striders, which are based off of horses, are going to be stampeding towards a cliff. Plus, it's not the Striders that usually do stampedes in the game. It's the Grazers that do that. And you see that most prominently in the Proving.
How do you know to avoid them? How are you doing this? Is this possible?
Dude, it's stealth grass. Hiding in it while the machines are looking away isn't that complicated. Pretty sure even without the focus, you'd be able to figure that out. To my pleasant surprise, Horizon Zero Dawn has a dialogue wheel, which is a great concept in theory, until you realize that in practice, it's kind of useless. Although it does allow you to choose how Aloy responds to certain situations, which admittedly provides some nice detail, it doesn't fundamentally change the outcome of a game like, say, Dragon Age, Mass Effect, or even Until Dawn. There's no morality system that'll keep you in favor or hostility towards certain people. There's no option to betray the Nora Braves and side with a different tribe like you'd be able to in Fallout. It's just there to fill in the quasi-RPG gap that the game didn't really need. Now, if you actually did include a morality or faction system in future games, then you'd be well on your way to making a goddamn masterpiece. But as it pertains to Zero Dawn, it's not as good as it could have been.
The Proving. The tribe's rite of passage held every year. Those who pass become braves. But to the one who wins, The matriarchs grant a boon.
Well, that seems like a pretty big defect in tribal law if they allow an outcast to participate in the proving. You just said a couple minutes ago that the very act of speaking to a brave was against tribal law.
That boy should not have spoken to us. It's against tribal law.
What Aloy is performing right here is called hunter reflexes. Keep in mind that you have to unlock this ability before you can use it in game. Yet she's doing it right here in a cinematic, which is before you even take control of her adult form.
Did someone forget we were supposed to go hunting this morning?
Hundreds of years into the future, and yet Aloy still talks like a socialite who didn't get whipped cream on her mocha frappuccino, proving once again that California was a mistake. It's called the Forbidden West for a reason. You will find out in more ways than one how terrible Aloy's jumping distance is in this game, even after showing you a montage clip of her doing exceptionally well. For a woman who was raised in the wilds for her entire life, you would think she'd be able to make bigger leaps in her adult life and when you actually get to control her, which does not happen. This yellow rope along with the white ledges are the only methods you can use to properly climb obstacles, effectively limiting your options of where you can ascend all the landscapes throughout the map. This is an open world game, which means it is heavily based on exploration. This is the last mistake you want to be making when designing a world with captivating locations. Nearly every side quest in this game is either this Batman-style investigation, where you gather up all the clues of what happened during an event prior to your arrival, or a tracking mission where you need to detect the path of a certain individual and then follow it, both of which end up with you fighting machines. It gets repetitive after a while, which is why I usually opt out of playing them. And this has always been the fatal flaw of open world games. They try to pack in as much content as they can, which then distracts from the narrative that's attempting to be told. If you're going to have side missions, best not to present yourself as a buffet when the only available food you have are biscuits and collard greens. Horizon Zero Dawn unfortunately suffers from Mass Effect Andromeda syndrome, where at times, the facial animations are stiffer than a corpse going through rigor mortis. I can go to my local ventriloquist and find more expressive emotions in dummies than what I find here. And that's a shame, since the game is so impeccably detailed in every other department. If it weren't so heavy on conversations with the dialogue wheel, you'd barely notice it, and probably not even care. But it is. And Sony unfortunately doesn't have that fuck you money to invest in more resources so that the animations can be near flawless. These campfires are the only way for you to save your game, and you only have a limited supply of fast travel packs that allow you to, well, fast travel. So if you happen to come across a huge monster and you want to save because there's no campfire around you, but you end up getting killed, you're jolly well fucked. Horizon Zero Dawn has one of the worst cases of map clutter I've ever seen. It's like if Galactus took a dump all over the map and we get the displeasure of viewing every single fecal particle. And then we subject ourselves to visual diarrhea. The waypoint marker is so janky that it's like a manic depressive child who can't decide what ride they want to go on at Disneyland. And now we come to the crowning achievement of Horizon Zero Dawn, which is its motherfucking gameplay, and how varied it is to make you really feel like you're a huntress, especially in the later game. You'll be able to use tripcasters that pin down machines with different element types such as shock, fire, and blast when you think you're going to be surrounded by their attacks. Get them stunned and finish them off with a critical hit. There will be different arrow types such as the tear blast, which removes any machine parts and thus can take away any artillery advantage that they would have against you. There's numerous traps, arrows that can temporarily corrupt machines to fight on your side, rope casters that'll tie down the biggest of enemies and immobilize them for a brief period of time and allow you to set up more attacks. And you can damage certain components which will inflict status effects including burn, freeze, and shock. You can override machines and either pit them against each other if they're in a pack, or you can ride them and use them as your transportation across the map. In certain instances, you can remove a weapon component and use that as part of your arsenal, effectively using their own parts against them. And it gets even better with the Frozen Wilds DLC, where you obtain a Forge Fire, Ice Rail, and Storm Slinger, which vastly increase how quickly you apply status effects against your enemies. You combine all these together and you have yourself one of the most exhilarating combat experiences in gaming. And on the harder difficulties, holy shit does it get intense. Guerrilla, continue this great work and you'll continue to have my support.
Are you sure they're gonna let me in?
I've told you, Aloy. By law, any child outcast can run in the proving.
Then why did you give her such a difficult time explaining that she could when she was a child? You realize that lying to kids and withholding the truth is only going to be a detriment to them in the long run, right?
It is Aloy, isn't it? I'm remembering your name correctly?
Dude, she never revealed what her name was when she saved you, and she stayed silent that whole time.
In preparation for this day, I've made an outfit for you.
Well, that's just quite the dedication there, Teb. You have now successfully elevated yourself to super simp status. Cause how the hell did you calculate her measurements when she's been outside of Mother's heart all these years up until now?
Every outfit offers some advantage. It's always a trade-off.
Speaking of a trade-off, time to point out the awful design choice of having the Tinker ability being a skill you need to unlock. And not only that, it's a level 4 skill, which should be a basic skill that other games would have given you as a starting ability for free. Meaning if you value other more important abilities, it's going to be a long time for you to be able to remove and reuse weapon coils and outfit weaves. Cause you know, you're a huntress out in the wilds and using mods for your weapons and outfits is a necessity. My G, this is a world that has regressed back into a tribalistic society. This is not the time to be wasting food.
Why does Lansra hate me so much?
She is a woman of extreme opinions. More than that, I cannot say.
Translation, we had to have at least one matriarch hate you and give no valid explanation as to why. Just had to create some unnecessary drama. Wow, sounds like all my past relationships.
Find your bed, outcast, and dream of winning the proving. That's the closest you're gonna get.
You, sir, practice bitch nigga tactics because you won't give her respect even after she wins the proving and confirms you are wrong.
Aw, you even try to dress like a real Nora. Not that it fools anyone.
Behold this barren wasteland where I grow my fucks, for I have none to give to this insecure, worthless, fatherless blonde asshole. Let us carry on with our day and erase him from our memories, just like the plot will.
Comforts and distractions. That's what I think.
Not all comforts are bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is not an editing mistake on my part. That is an audio bug that exists within the game, and Horizon is plagued with them. Now, I will have you know that the footage you're watching is from the PC Steam port. However, it was recorded in December of 2021, which is well over a year after it initially released on PC. Now, maybe it's someone from Guerrilla or someplace else sabotaged the PC port because of some console loyalty and vindictiveness. I don't put pettiness past anybody these days. But a year and some change later and your port still isn't fixed is not going to get you in good faith with many players and convince them to get invested in your properties. So during the proving, Aloy gains her trophy and has it destroyed by Bost, and she has to try to gain a new one. This places her dead last in the final run, yet she will end up winning first place when it's all finished. I know, the game gives you a reason that the path she took was a shortcut, but this Nora later said it's an old trail that's falling apart, and she's dead last. This ain't F-Zero where you can turbo boost your way to the front of the finish line and gain your victory. Unless those other Nora got hit with a banana peel power-up, which didn't happen.
Kill them all! No witnesses, no survivors!
And yet, Helis will taunt Aloy by choking her out just to assert his dominance. Man's been taking that red pill content a little too seriously. Yep, that's a saving the hero in the nick of time cliche, alright.
Burn it all, then to your task.
Or you could just, you know, not be an idiot and just finish off Aloy and Rost, thus fulfilling your goal. You see, I barely tolerated Aloy surviving her tumble into the ruins, but now she also gets to survive being tossed off the side of a snowy mountain. Shit, she doesn't even need the Shield Weaver outfit with plot armor this strong.
All commanders, halt excavations and proceed at once to the mission point. Avoid all contact with Nora savages, but if you are seen, kill every witness.
Well, that directly contradicts what we just saw. None of the Nora noticed the eclipse until they started firing, and the whole point was to eliminate Aloy because she almost exactly resembles Elizabeth Sobek. So why not just wait until she was isolated and issue the kill order then? She only won the proving to look for answers anyway, so she would have been away from the tribe and venture off alone eventually.
Is there no other trail to follow?
Olin. He was one of the outsiders. The night before the proving. The killer saw me through his eyes. He lives in Meridian.
Olin actually never mentioned that he lived in Meridian. Just another explorer looking to uncover trinkets to sell.
When all this is over, I'm back to delving ruins, rummaging for scrap, scrounging up trinkets to sell.
Well, damn. I didn't actually expect someone to incorporate the assuming direct control meme from Mass Effect 2 into their game. It became forgotten for a reason, because it was dumb as hell. The hit detection when firing your arrows is some of the most pathetic I've ever seen in a video game. It's akin to aiming your dick directly inside the toilet and you end up pissing all over the bathroom anyway, even though you know you pointed your flesh cannon correctly.
You made them obey you. How? This.
That corruptor was clearly firing its corruption through its spike launcher, but this is an override module that can only be effective up close. The only way you can override a machine from long range and have it fight on your side is through corruption arrows, and that's only temporary. May Ubisoft forever be damned for introducing this bland radio tower unlock system and convince the industry to permeate it throughout all open world games. Let it one day join QuickTime events in the ban world of video game design where it belongs. Damn, what kind of bow is Sona using and why can't I possess it? Ain't no shock arrow I ever use that's that powerful. Plus, sawtooths are weaker to fire arrows instead of shock. Game, I don't think you understand the concept of a silent strike. I'm surprised that didn't alert the whole damn camp by how loud it was. Oh man, this one is too damn funny, ladies and gentlemen. So check this out. When I first met Nil, he offered me tips on how to take down this bandit camp near Devil's Thirst. However, I went ahead and cleared out the bandit camp before meeting up with him and discussing a plan of attack, because I had forgotten I spoke to him and thought, oh, a bandit camp. Let me just gain some XP real quick. So when I actually did go speak to him, this dude is talking to me as if I didn't already conquer the bandit camp. And then you get an interaction like this.
Go ahead and take the lead. I look forward to seeing what you're capable of. That's the alarm. Let them sound it and more will come running. It's a gift. And if you're the heroic kind who needs a little extra, there's the captives.
Like, game, please register that a player gets ahead of you before you want them to. Makes the immersion a little bit more unbreakable. Speaking of which, Nil is a former Kadra soldier Aloy occasionally encounters whenever you raid a bandit camp. After you've defeated all the bandit camps, he requests that you meet him atop a mesa and he'll challenge you to a duel. You can either accept or decline. If you accept and then kill him, he doesn't drop a special weapon for you to use, nor can you take his gear and refit it for Aloy. That much time invested into a character I think warrants its own reward. Dodge prowess is one of the most effective and useful abilities in the game. However, despite Aloy possessing a spear, there's no block button for incoming attacks. You face a fair bit of human enemies, and a claw swipe is the primary attack for a good chunk of the machines. So it would have only made sense for Aloy to have a block function, yet it's not present. Maybe that's just me having my disdain for dodging and wishing to perform parries, but my argument still stands. Speaking of missed opportunities for abilities, there's no option for Aloy to use the shield from a Shellwalker as a defensive tool. To balance it out so that it's not an overpowered item, since it's been removed from the Shellwalker's body and it needs the generator to constantly power the shield, once you kill a Shellwalker, its shield will just be a temporary item that'll break once all of its remaining energy has been depleted from incoming attacks from every enemy you encounter. That way, you'd have an incentive to hunt down Shellwalkers and use their parts once you get to higher levels that'll help you against the more aggressive and tougher enemies. You got a cauldron named Sigma, but no Alpha nor Beta. I see that iframes were left off the priority list of technological advancements to be made. You only get 4,000 XP for overriding a cauldron. Those things take a significant amount of time to complete, and I've come across side quests where you get more XP in a fraction of the time it takes to finish a cauldron.
I need to find Olin. I need to know what he knows.
But he's a friend.
No, he's a traitor. I don't know who the killers are or what they want, but I do know that Olin is working with them.
But, this...
I don't need you to understand, Erend. I just need you to take me to him.
You know, you can't just tell Erend that you saw yourself through Olin's focus and that's why you're after him. Being honest and upfront with a man who just allowed you entry into Meridian is just basic human decency and appreciation. This is the time to start building your relationships, and trust is the best approach to do so. You're starting to sound like a woman that just shows up to a guy's mansion and then demands access to the cocaine pile without contributing anything to warrant that.
Okay, how are we gonna get in? Oh, that was subtle.
I mean, it worked, didn't it? The fuck you complaining about? How convenient that Aloy finds a pallet of iron ingots in the workshop, which just so happened to be directly above the supposed indestructible Oseram vault hatch that leads to the basement.
Looks like Olin kept a journal.
Olin? I knew he could read contracts, but I never took him for a poet.
I mean, who would? He has a focus that can communicate every piece of information he needs to the Eclipse in secrecy. There's no need to be writing down his guilt in a journal that reveals his treachery, especially when it's inside of an apartment within a city ran by the very people he's betraying, as someone would eventually find it, which is exactly what happens here.
How did you learn to read glyphs? And these things that you see, how do you do it?
The focus. It reveals the unseen.
And Olin's focus, it's the same?
The device is the same, but somehow Olin and the killers can speak to each other with their focuses over distances, and see through each other's focuses too, like looking through each other's eyes.
See how simple it was to reveal why you're after Olin? But more importantly, is it really surprising to know that focuses have a neural network that allows its users a wide variety of functions, and that Olin and the Eclipse can communicate with each other through their focuses as well as see through their eyes? You've had this device for a good chunk of your life so far. Thus, you've had plenty of time to understand it and now know its capabilities in and out. This should not come as a shock.
What you intend to bring these ancient things back to life.
And why are you talking like you're surprised by this? You already detailed this in your journal. Getting hit while you're behind cover. There's no way to override a Stormbird and then ride it throughout the map. Damn the broadheads and striders, I got new heights I want to soar through. The rule of 3 cliché is dedicated to continue plaguing my existence.
Take the one on the right.
Well, you'd be pretty damn screwed here if you didn't get the death from above skill by now. Don't assume everyone's going to play the same way, game. If you're required a certain skill once the player gets to a certain mission, maybe Aloy should have already had that skill by default, especially considering she spent her entire life in the wilds and would have acquired that technique by now.
If I set it off, the explosion will destroy those corruptors and collapse the wall too.
But it doesn't make sense for the corruptors here to be dormant. The whole point of the Eclipse unearthing them is to have them reactivated by Hades, and the corruptors here are clearly above ground. So they would have had to have been reactivated in order to bring them to the metal ring in the first place. This ring is one of the most important bases for the Eclipse. They should be having as many defenses as they can to protect the amount of blaze possible, especially when Aloy and Varl were able to exploit an opening in the ring. They should be having the corruptors active just like they will have at Maker's End. Bastards didn't even have any Glinthawks on top of the ring to patrol over long distances. This is the Deathbringer, one of the ancient machines that helped eradicate all life on Earth thanks to it being replicated at an alarming rate. And honestly, I am unimpressed. I expected it to be much bigger. And it's prone to overheating, so if you have an abundance of fire arrows, you shouldn't have that much trouble with it, even on the higher difficulties. Now, that Horus machine, the one they call a metal devil, that's what I wanted to fight. Shadow of the Colossus style. But we never get to do that in this game, and thus my competitive boner remains flaccid.
What is this?
The entity lives.
This is Hades, the rogue AI whose voice Olin said was terrifying and chills you to your very bones. It's more like a voice I'd hear from a chaotic neutral DJ who's had one too many Long Island iced teas for the night and decided to play a gag on their friends with their audio mixer. Things giving off major Harbinger vibes and trying way too hard to sound threatening, and just comes off as a massive dork.
The entity lives. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
So with Hades realizing that Aloy still lives, you wonder why Helis never wanted to confirm Aloy's supposed death after the proving, since he's directly under the command of Hades, and the whole point of the attack at Mother's Heart was to kill Aloy, since she closely resembles Elizabeth Sobek. And you wonder why Hades doesn't accelerate its plans to reactivate the other Deathbringers upon this realization, maybe even harm Aloy's allies like Erend and Varl to distract her and make her lose support so that she's less likely to succeed.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
YouTube's decision to remove the dislike button? Why not just explode Aloy's focus as well if that's what Hades is capable of, and prevent her from acquiring the knowledge she desires? Maker's End turns out to be the ruins of Pharaoh Automated Solutions, the corporation responsible for creating the machines that wiped out life hundreds of years ago. Yet it doesn't require an alpha level clearance like the one at All Mother. Hell, it shouldn't even allow DNA access since Elizabeth Sobek wasn't even on good terms with Tet Pharaoh prior to the reveal of the chariot line going rogue, as evidenced by the purge data we end up recovering.
Elizabeth, good to, it's been years.
Where's your legal team, Ted?
No need. I dropped all 18 lawsuits the moment you landed.
It's not bad, Ted. It's apocalyptic. You built a line of killer robots.
Peacekeepers.
That consume biomass as fuel.
In emergencies.
And you made them capable of self-replication.
Limited, self-manufacture, controlled.
Terminator, The Matrix, Blade Runner, iRobot, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Basically any piece of science fiction that deals with rogue AI, and you make them all look like geniuses compared to the absurdity you've perpetrated. Damn the stratosphere, you managed to reach all new clusterfuck levels of stupidity with this decision.
In 15 minutes, I meet with General Harris and the rest of the Joint Chiefs.
What? Are you crazy?
Now your choice is what I tell them. Sign, and I'll tell them the wealthiest corporation on Earth has guaranteed the funds necessary to build Zero Dawn. Exactly as I've designed it. or don't sign, and I will make sure they and everyone else on this planet knows the real cause of the glitch.
Faro Automated Solutions was the largest corporation in the world at that time, as well as having the largest amount of military contracts. I think the Joint Chiefs would know the real cause of the glitch. It was Faro robots that ceased responding to command protocols, after all.
This doesn't add up. Sobek couldn't have been my mother. She lived ages ago. All this searching, and I'm still no closer.
That's your reaction to everything you've just learned? To whine like a spoiled child?
My man's silence. That's exactly what the fuck I'd be saying if I'd been searching for knowledge my entire life and came across someone else who uncovered the mystery within minutes. Leave it to Lance Reddick to put everything in perspective and be the most interesting character in the game.
So, you have a face. Got a name to go with it?
Of all the questions you could ask right now, that's the one you choose.
Exactly. Aloy's been living in a post-apocalyptic world her entire life, and she just found out the reason why the world is in the state that it's in. And learning Silence's name is what she decides to wonder about? When you obtain the double and triple shot abilities, you have the option to add more arrows to a bow shot while you aim. However, if you decide to switch to a different arrow type, but then immediately switch back to the arrow type you were initially going to use, the arrow count gets reset back to 1 and those extra arrows you added will be gone. Even though it makes some sense, it breaks the flow of combat and adds unnecessary frustration that shouldn't exist in the first place.
What are you doing out here all alone? Where are your men?
I'm not gonna risk their lives. I don't mind putting my worthless ass on the line, but not theirs.
Your men are part of the Sun King's vanguard. They're definitely capable of handling a few machines. Plus, this is going to be quite the contradiction when you end up requiring their help while finding Marad's operative in Pitchcliff. There's really no need for Aloy to use the focus here. The blood tracks are clear as day and can easily be detected by the naked eye. Aaron had said his soldiers had already gone over the ambush. How the hell did they miss these details? No matter what happens, I will eventually get hoed by a video game. It's just that some instances are far more severe than others, like the one you all are about to witness. So juicy they are that I can't help but laugh while facepalming into oblivion. Behold, utter stupidity. That's worth these many sins.
This is Ursa's helmet. I thought she died in the field below, but must have been here. All this trickery. For what? Feels like it's just to torture me.
What's crazy is that that's not too far from the truth. Ursa's whereabouts have been a pretty big deal up until this point. We went from thinking that Ursa was not that easy to break, to thinking she was dead from the ambush, to now believing that her body might have been switched out with someone else wearing her armor, only to find out she's still alive, but ends up dying anyway. This is Charles Manson levels of emotional manipulation. All that so Dervahl can erect and stroke his revenge boner. Rockbreakers are the biggest bitches in the game, literally. On higher difficulties, they like to use the cheap shot only tactic of burrowing underground, striking you, and before you get a chance to retaliate, go back underground. Oh, you got a few seconds to bust out your rope caster to tie him down? Fuck you, bury back underground. Not to mention all the auto-tracking they do.
Ursa has an enemy among the Oseram, a warlord named Dervahl.
Impossible. Every clan in the claim has been hunting for him since the liberation. He has to be dead by now.
Then there would have been confirmation about his death, such as bringing his corpse as proof of his demise. Never assume an enemy is dead until you have concrete evidence of so.
I expect to find him lurking somewhere near the border. I've already sent an agent to investigate. He'll be waiting for word from us at the marketplace.
Well, if he was that easy to track, how come every other clan has never found him? Marad has made it seem like it wasn't difficult to find him at all.
So, why would Dervahl go to so much trouble to kidnap Ursa?
He felt she betrayed him. She fought by his side until she realized he planned to raise Meridian and butcher its people. Then she came to me. Together, we stopped him and liberated the city from my father. Dervahl has spent every moment since trying to get revenge.
But the whole reason why Dervahl wanted revenge was because of the Mad Sun King sacrificing his family for the blood rituals. The same Mad Sun King Ursa and Avad eventually overthrew. Thus there was no longer a need for vengeance, since the man responsible for the loss of his family was now dead. Yet he still has a vendetta against Ursa because of a false sense of betrayal? Foolishness, Dervahl. Foolishness.
If I can't find something, maybe my focus can.
Game developers, y'all really need to stop this shit. Having the main character verbally backseat by voicing hints and assuming that the player is stupid. This is an action-adventure game. Some people like to play at their own pace and figure things out on their own. In my case here, I was just attending to other business and forgot to press the pause button. If you want to give hints, just put them in the options menu and let people decide whether they want them on or off. Game doesn't allow you to override the machines while they're in chains at Dervahl's camp. Dervahl is a tinker, but he doesn't have the technological prowess Aloy has, nor the access from the override component that lets machines fight on his side.
Dervahl says you gotta eat dirt.
Then try actually aiming your weapon at your target. A narrow staircase with a clear opening of Aloy and you still manage to fire at nothing? You deserve this, Elle.
I got a message from Dervahl saying he wanted to parlay. I didn't come for you because I knew it was a trap. I couldn't let you get hurt. Just didn't think it'd be that good a trap. Thought I could take him out.
But he's still a master craftsman, and this is information you know already, since you fought together side by side. Do we really need to be subjected to another pride goeth before the fall scenario?
Dervahl's planning something big in Meridian. He said he'd force Avad to watch as the smoke darkens their precious sun.
Character dies right after spilling crucial information cliché.
A cauldron. What's that?
You're from inside the Embrace, so you've never seen one.
I'll have you know that by this point, I've already unlocked 2 cauldrons, Sigma and Rho. Yet Aloy's talking like she doesn't know what the hell they are. So the game didn't bother to alter the dialogue here. In the event, you've never noticed this quest until much later in the game, so that it can actually match the progress you've made so far.
A letter. It mentioned a shipment of blaze being sent to a warehouse here. Only, it wasn't addressed to Dervahl. The name was Ayland Forgeman. Does that mean anything to you?
A landlord. The Oseram have been buying up buildings across the city, including one under that name. It's by the edge of the mesa, near the temple. It used to be a shop, but it could serve as a warehouse. If Dervahl used the name as an alias to buy it, he might even be there now.
Take him alive? So you can haggle over him? You can't be serious.
Our security depends on keeping the peace.
Well, considering that Dervahl has managed to get Blaze into Meridian under an alias right under your noses without you suspecting him, you're not doing a good job with your security.
If that bomb downstairs goes off, it'll be just what Dervahl promised. Smoke will darken the sun as the city goes up in flames.
That would make more sense if the bomb were, bigger. This is just one pile of blaze. Now, if we're talking about a stadium-sized pile of blaze on the scale of, say, Sunfall, then that would be something to be concerned about.
Help me push this out.
You were able to push a pallet of iron ingots earlier all by yourself, and those definitely looked a lot heavier than a pile of blaze. Yet the blaze is what you need help with pushing?
You robbed me of my right to kill your father, so I'll have to settle for you.
So this is just another case of the sins of the father shall be bestowed upon the son, even though the son is the one who killed his father, thus absolving the Karja of their sins? Take notes, viewer. Beware of revenge boners, because if they're erect for long enough, they will cut off the blood supply to your brain.
Something's wrong. It didn't. I didn't hear anything.
Damn right you didn't. That was a pretty hefty explosion Aloy and Aaron detonated back at the mesa. And that didn't grab your attention? Looking back and barely getting a glance at Aloy when she was following you didn't tip you off that someone was attempting to foil your plans?
No! It should be a firestorm, not some belch from a charcoal burner!
Then maybe you should have added Mo Blaze to your plan?
Oh. You must be the Nora who bushwhacked my camp.
Wait, so you know who she is and yet you still didn't prepare for her?
Bomb or no bomb, I'm gonna splatter that throne with blood. First yours, then Avad's.
Newsflash, you could have already killed Avad had you not decided to follow the villain trope of letting your enemies live when you should have killed them. You all just took Dervahl to imprison him and nobody is keeping watch on him? The Gravehort section of the game is loaded with audio logs and text data points that are unnecessary. The game is going to have plenty of holograms and cutscenes later on that'll clearly explain as to what happened hundreds of years ago. This is barely enough to be considered a repeated boss fight. It moves, so you do have a good idea of how to deal with it if you were to encounter it again, and it is corrupted, but it's the same type of enemy model with the same weak points.
Now I just need to find the orbital launch base they talked about.
I've checked my data and located the base. That's the good news.
And the bad?
It's directly underneath the Citadel. The palace at Sunfall. The palace is crawling with Eclipse agents. Many in positions of authority, all of them wearing focuses. The moment they see you, Hades will too. He'll issue another kill order, and this time, the entire Shadow Carja military will be after you.
That's what they should have been doing already as soon as Hades recognized that Aloy was still alive back at Maker's End. It'll always be hilarious to me how the merchants are just randomly placed throughout the map, many of them being nowhere near a settlement. So very much like Resident Evil, merchants basically have the protagonist as their only customer, in the hopes that I actually notice them when exploring. Not exactly the most lucrative business plan you got there. So when Aloy reaches the tall neck within the Eclipse base, Hades is present. The entire point of being here is to disable the focus network so that Aloy can venture through Sunfall unimpeded. But by doing this, Silence basically served Aloy to Hades on a silver platter. He's made it very clear that he's here to serve his own interests, but a major part of those interests is to keep Aloy alive so that she can uncover the mysteries he has failed to solve himself. Warning her about Hades' presence here so that she can properly prepare for him would have made a lot more sense than what ended up occurring.
Entity cannot destroy me. I am beyond its reach.
Maybe you are, but this isn't!
Man, screw the focus network. How does this not disable Hades? The Tallneck's connected to the metal devil where Hades resides.
Destroy the entity.
However, this does not include, chasing after the entity to make sure that she's dead once she's escaped. Underestimating our enemy, even though she's already proven to avoid death multiple times. Business as usual down here in Antagonist Alley. So afterwards, I came across a group of Shadow Carja inside of Sunfall without a disguise, and they still weren't on high alert and attacked the Nora girl who looked suspiciously like the one that was supposed to have died at the proving.
You and I need to chat, little huntress. The green tent down in Shadowside. I'll be waiting.
Woman, did you just activate a side quest for me while I'm in the cutscene for a main quest? A side quest that isn't going to benefit me in the final mission of the game?
Zero Dawn is not a super weapons program, and it will not save us.
See, this is where context is very important. He says that Project Zero Dawn will not save us, even though it's designed to do exactly that. Terraform the planet so that it can be habitable again for the humans of the future. Yeah, it doesn't save them, the people who are building Zero Dawn, and the ones who are responsible for building the robots that destroyed the world. But it is designed to help birth a new generation of humans when the planet is terraformed to become livable again. Remember, second highest difficulty setting, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to Hades, Zero Dawn's extinction failsafe protocol, the ultimate killer app. Now, I know what you're thinking. The purpose of Gaia is to resurrect life. So why give her a subordinate function, only purpose of which is to wipe out life all over again? I mean, what? Just plumb crazy, ain't it? Well, no, it isn't. Reconstituting a biosphere? That's a tall order. Tech smart as Gaia may be, odds are she won't get it right the first time. What you're gonna do, Gaia, is step aside while Hades takes over and does what you're just too darn nurturing and life-loving to do, which is burn that misbegotten mess of a biosphere to the ground so Gaia can start over.
Or, now hear me out here for a second, you design Gaia properly so that she doesn't end up making mistakes in the first place. And if by chance Gaia does make a mistake, why not design a subordinate that, adapts to correct those mistakes and make adjustments instead of destroying the whole plan and starting from scratch all over again?
Are you really so naive? There will be no who waiting for you there, Aloy. Whatever birthed you into the world was a what, not a who.
You bastard.
Oh no, I had a legitimate birth. It's you, Aloy, who are the creation of a machine. But what kind of machine and why? Why were you created?
Because she is the chosen one. Alright. Not like we haven't been setting her up as a messiah figure this entire game. What with the virgin birth, the ability to miraculously survive fatal injuries, winning the proving, being anointed a seeker, and saving the Sun King of Meridian from certain death. That's a pretty major security oversight if a simple firebomb can break through Elizabeth's office. You know, the most important person in the success of Project Zero Dawn in the old times.
Still alive. Good. I have a more suitable death in mind for you.
Or you could just take your blade to her skull right now, since you've already failed to kill her during the proving. Then again, I don't think it'd be powerful enough to penetrate her plot armor, so you're SOL. First person point of view at a critical plot moment.
When I heard that you had survived, a doubt took root in my mind.
Wait, so you did know about her survival and didn't make any preparations to destroy her by, I don't know, informing your Eclipse organization about her appearance to recognize her since the focus network is down?
Those I am bade to kill die. And yet I failed. How? Why?
Plot convenience, my G. It is undefeated in the realm of storytelling, and you are its latest victim.
I kept thinking of the moment my knife pierced your throat. One twist, a simple tug of the blade, and you would have bled out. In slaughter, I am a practiced hand. So why hesitate? Why fail my destined purpose?
Now that's just main characteritis. It's very much like divorce. If it ends up affecting you, it has a very high chance of defeating you.
Oh, speaking of sacrifice, I forgot to tell you. After you crashed the Eclipse network, I sent messengers into the east to rally the forces there and mount an invasion of the sacred land. I ordered every Nora killed. I was hoping to catch you there, but alas, it all seems to have been unnecessary.
So after acknowledging that Aloy crashed the focus network, which is outside of the sacred land, why would you then think she'd go back to Nora land where you initially thought you killed her before she settles her business here? And then you try to eradicate everyone except your main target. You are too much, man. What in pineapple pizza's hell is this shit? Did the bomb transport me to the demake of Horizon Zero Dawn? Silent 7 Aloy in the flesh for the first time this entire game was pretty hype. And he brought 3 overridden Ravagers with him, showcasing that he has more talent than you probably expected from him, and that he ain't no pushover. Well done. You know, those 3 Ravagers still have cannons mounted on top of them. Maybe use them against the Corruptors instead of just pouncing them? Just throwing that idea out there. Damn, y'all really not being subtle with that Messiah energy anymore, are ya? Overlapping dialogue.
Today is our 5th day. Your first day of school. There's so much for you to learn. So much promise and possibility.
I had to dredge the pits of the world looking for focuses to repair.
I always knew you weren't like other Nora.
Neither are you, Varl. Maybe, if we survive all this, I can show you what I've learned. What I'm learning.
Perhaps. If the goddess so wills it.
Color me extremely disappointed that this relationship did not develop further than it could have. I know a lot of writers these days think it's cliche for men and women to fall in love with each other, but newsflash, that's how the human race survives. This is precisely why a lot of people find Aloy boring as hell, because all she cares about is saving the world and literally nothing else. Aloy and Varl could have done much more than just respect each other's abilities. Just put it this way, if Aloy somehow manages to survive this whole saving the world ordeal, what's going to be awaiting her afterwards if she hasn't established any personal or romantic relationships? I mean, just because you've accepted your fate of dying alone does not mean everyone else should as well.
I thought you might actually be here this time. Actually, here.
Why? My presence is unnecessary. You don't need my help to pass through this door. You were the one born to do this, not me.
But you are the one who has been relentlessly pursuing knowledge his entire life, and you've been trying to get through Gaia Prime for years. This is the perfect opportunity to acquire that which you have desired all this time, and ensure Aloy survives her journey. Plus, you just admitted this has also been one of your workshops. So Ted Faro, you know, the guy whose robots are responsible for life going extinct in the first place? Yeah, he decided to cash in his chips to reach legendary asshole god status by simultaneously killing all the alphas responsible for building the super intelligent AI that's meant to correct all the mistakes he created. Also that he doesn't pass on his shame and regret to the next generation who will learn about his atrocities. My G, Thanos and Palpatine had more morality than that.
Hades wants to send a new transmission. To wake the machines, so they can devour the world all over again. So the Eclipse, the robots they've resurrected, They're just a means to an end.
Look, game, I really don't mind if you rip off Mass Effect 1. It is in my top 10 of all-time favorite games after all. But you could have done it a bit more tastefully. You don't want to be like me and simply make minor improvements on a format that's already been established. I just find it hilarious that a Scorcher, whose main power element is fire, is not only able to survive, but thrives in an environment that is composed almost entirely of ice. And their weakness is freeze. The technique of overriding machines is pretty inconsistent in the frozen wilds. You have the Banuk, many of whom are tinkers and are able to summon Glinthawks to carry the helms of their fallen warriors, suggesting they're able to control machines somehow. Then there's Naltuk, who is tasked by Aurea to observe and prevent the spread of the demonic machines and the control towers that have been popping up around the land. Yet it never crosses his mind to destroy the clearly visible weak spot on the control towers whenever they emit the pulse signal that repairs and rallies them.
To hunt! To strive! That is the way of the Banuk and of the contest before you. And as challenger, your path to victory is harder.
Well then, not really consistent in your beliefs on striving for strength if your champion gets a clear advantage over the challenger. So, doing your little tribal dance to manipulate smoke into an air vent reactivates an ancient facility and opens its doors for you? Yeah, sure, game. I mean, DLC land is the perfect opportunity for you to make up rules as you go along. So, y'all are just gonna waltz through an active volcano with little protection and just gloss over it like it's no big deal? This is the Fireclaw, by far the toughest enemy in the game and more than worthy of being the final boss of the Frozen Wilds DLC. However, the fight against it is marred with constant interference from control towers that periodically appear to repair the Fireclaw. It's like if David fought Goliath and the Philistines were constantly tossing holy water at Goliath to restore his HP so that he doesn't get embarrassed by David.
Survive. Prevail. You are Banuk. What else matters?
Quite the audacity of you to recite his own Banuk motto back at him after his own sister sacrificed herself. You know, the same sister whom he didn't want to endanger again, but couldn't due to your own stubbornness.
You haven't seen what's up there, Outlander. I will not risk my sister's life again.
Then we better get on with this. Give me up top, Aratak! Now! I need explosive ammo! Above! Quick!
You want to demand a foot massage and a back rub while you're at it? It's not like he's also clinging on for dear life or anything. Also, Aratak tosses Aloy a firebomb that wasn't equipped on his person just a few seconds ago. One of the biggest what the fuck moments I had while playing Horizon Zero Dawn is how you had to go into the quest menu and select tutorial for a particular weapon in order to gain XP for it, instead of, you know, simply equipping the weapon and use it on the necessary machines to show its capabilities and then rewarding you. So here I am nearing the end of the main campaign and I'm using a beginner weapon to gain XP from a tutorial that was issued to me at the beginning of the game.
Silence? Are you there? Guess I shouldn't ask ghosts for advice.
Maybe try wearing your focus then? And what do you mean by ghost? You mean the ghost you've met in person a couple times already? One would not be blamed for thinking Avad is a weak-willed and incompetent Sun King. He needed Aloy's help to be saved by Dervahl and now, despite the warnings from Aloy, did not properly prepare the defenses for Meridian as Helis is able to infiltrate the Sundom and catch him off guard with a surprise attack.
I'm chosen. This was not meant to be.
Guess the sun must have forgotten to tell you about the villain curse you possess. Now your spirit can play ping pong with itself in the Shadow Realm for all eternity. While I do enjoy the machine horde battle, the Oseram cannons I use have unlimited ammo and are so powerful, you kind of wonder how Hades thought it would succeed with how easily the machines can be decimated by them. That's a Deathbringer dragging Hades literally right by Aloy and does absolutely nothing. Failure to confirm the kill of Entity is
unacceptable. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
So, you mean to tell me Hades has enough strength to actually raise the machines that have been completely buried, but then still needs time for the biomass conversion protocol to be initiated, even when the machines are now above ground to get a clear signal boost?
Look, there isn't a lot of time left. I have to face Hades.
Not alone.
My fight.
Your fight that will end up costing humanity should you fail. So just take all the help you can get. Now is not the time for foolish pride.
Arrival of entity has been anticipated.
Has it now? So you admit to willfully ignoring her when she was incapacitated as the Deathbringer was hauling you next to her? The final boss battle of Horizon Zero Dawn is just a souped up Deathbringer, so not only is it a repeated boss fight, it also decides to use other machines to assist it, since it can't defeat me on its own, meaning it's committing one of my biggest personal gaming sins. What is this shit, the Matrix? How does stabbing Hades transport Aloy to the digital world? I could understand if the Focus opened up all new holograms for her to tamper with exclusively, since the Master Override is attached to Sylens' lance. But this looks like an entirely new realm of existence. I can tolerate Elizabeth's body remaining at her ranch for hundreds of years, since it's been in a nanosuit this entire time. But her being able to hold a souvenir in her palm the entire time? Now that's just complete malarkey.
Knowledge has its rewards, don't you think?
Sure, especially when you can expand and then proceed to waste all that knowledge in the sequels.
Find a way to fix it all. And the answer is somewhere out in the Forbidden West.